Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kaustubha. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Dallas, Texas, and Radhakalachanji Dham. This is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kaustubha Das. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Texas, the bigger the better. And we are cruising through. You can see this is called the Darshan room because they have programs here. But it's Nityananda Chandra and Krishna Mangala's house with their kids. And it's so beautiful. We showed up at, I don't know, like 11:45. You want to hear some news? I drove one of my marathon drives last night from 3:30 a.m. till about 11:45. And, the last half hour.
We know that's not true, Raghunath, because you did the show. There were breaks. You did the show yesterday.
Did you hear what he just said?
Yeah, you went from 3 a.m.
Did you hear what he just said? He's not going to give me any credit for that drive.
Well, let's just be accurate here.
I took a 1-hour break to do the show. Come on!
Well, that makes me suspicious. You see, that makes me think maybe there were more breaks.
Life is an exaggeration.
Maybe there were more breaks.
Well, what I said, everything. I said monk for 6.5 years. What I really meant to say was
6 months.
I liked Krishna consciousness, and therefore I wore robes occasionally. That's what I meant to say.
No, Raghunath, it was heroic what you did.
Come
yesterday.
on, that was a drive.
Yeah, continue.
No, it's pulled over. I took a couple naps in there too. But anyway, we made it here. So check this out. Yeah. If he was here, he'd be back to Justin. I was like, "Do you have directions to the temple?" And he says, "Yes, they're in my phone." Are you sure? Yeah, they're in my phone.
This sounds like some training. Here's Raghunath training him up,
We
right?
end up, I said, wait a second. I've been to this temple like 20 times. And we pull up, and we're calling them, okay, because they made us this beautiful feast, and incredible feast when we got here. And it was that last half hour. My kids are starving. They're basically crying in the back seat. I'm like getting thinner and thinner, and I'm driving. My hands are sweating. I smell. The whole car smells of my body. Bhakti Justin is just giving these directions. Okay, take a right, take a left. I go, are you sure? Because it's in my phone. Because my phone is telling me to go a different direction. No, it's going. Don't listen to your phone. We end up at some temple that's like the Radha Krishna temple. I was like, this isn't the temple. I was like, this is Texas. You know how many Indians are in Texas? There's thousands of Radha Krishna temples. And we realized we were at the wrong temple at
but that could have been Krishna wanted to see you in that temple.
Oh, maybe Bhakti Justin isn't evil. So then after they, how devotees when they greet you, they're like they're waiting outside having a kirtan. It was like that. Those guys were like, okay, call us when you get close. You want to get everything ready? I was like, okay, we're 2 minutes away. And we're like, I made a terrible mistake. We're at the wrong temple. We were actually 30 minutes away. So tag on another 30 minutes. So we showed up. They had this incredible feast for us. KC from Shelter was here, and his son, which is great because he lives in Texas.
Yeah. I got history there, Rogue. I could have gotten you there by memory. I could have gotten you to the proper temple.
Oh, It's a special place. Me and Kaustubha, I've been here too.
Yeah, yeah.
And with Kaustubha's guru. And Shelter played maybe like 5 Hare
That's the
Krishna
shows.
temples, strangely enough.
Okay.
And Dallas was one of them. Played
Houston,
across the street.
Dallas, Alachua.
That farm in Mississippi.
Oh, Mississippi. Okay.
Mississippi farm and Alachua. Oh, in New York. We played in New York.
Brooklyn
Temple. And we played the New York Rath Yatra and the LA Rath Yatra. This was back
in the New York Rath Yatra.
We played the New York Rath Yatra. I don't know how
Like
we
in the
got.
park.
Yep.
Get out! How do I not know about that?
That was great. It was a great day. All these hardcore kids showed up moshing in the Rath Yatra.
That sacred festival.
I brought my unsacredness to the sacred
hardcore.
festival.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's great to be here. And there's this incredible altar right behind me. I don't know if you can see that.
But that home was the home of Radha Vinod and Indranila, my dear friends.
Yeah, and what a beautiful home it is.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're back on the road today. We're heading to Alachua. We're going to hang out with Vera Budger, Jai Giridhari, Dunya and Bali.
You're just meeting nice people wherever you go.
You know, I just keep nice people. You know, I have so much stuff to do on the phone too while I drive, which is nice. Really, just catching up with people. And it's just like I have so many nice people practicing bhakti in my life.
Yeah.
Even in business, I have a lawyer, and I'm like, Harry Ball to my lawyer. You know, Thank you. And so it's like we're basically it's our
family.
community that floats us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You want the people in your life to be also on a spiritual path as much as possible because it keeps your consciousness high. And just even reminiscing or whether it's doing business or whatever, these are the people that in our life that always help us bring up, that we can reveal our hearts to and tell our struggles and our joys.
And no matter where you go, you got family there, right?
Yeah, I feel so welcome by this beautiful family. We all felt welcome and fed and taken care of, and I'm gonna be sad to leave, but we're gonna hoof it out of here, and maybe we can make it to Florida tonight. I'm not sure.
Okay.
All right, what do you say we dive into the Srimad Bhagavatam?
You got another one of those new bundies on too.
Yes, my Gopi skirts. Follow them at Gopi Skirts or gopiskirts.com. And you too can either wear a Gopi skirt or a bundi. Look at this one today. Can you tell? Can you see it?
Is it like small? Is it a floral, kind of like a small floral pattern thing?
Yeah.
All right.
It's quite attractive. Brings out my feminine a little.
Actually, you can work that kind of thing, Raghu. You own it. You got it.
I know. Like I said, Mara said, it makes me look 2 years younger.
Yeah.
Which is
2 years younger than who, though?
2 years younger than a centurion.
I think it's just the fact that you're wearing something new and clean.
makes me smell better. It's because it's been
Unstained.
washed. Okay. Yes, Gopi skirts. And you know what? Sweet Baby Krishna just couldn't happen. It's not going to happen. It's not happening this week. It's just too impossible.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm trying, but it's
We
not gonna
understand.
happen. Okay.
Why are you rushing back so fast, though? You could have taken your time. You had to make it to the wedding going one direction, but now like you're rushing back so fast.
Well,
you could
why?
Take it a little
So
more
we can
slow.
sort of
like you go to New Orleans or something like that now, or Mississippi, and do the Sweet Baby Krishna and make it to Florida one day later.
Yeah.
You just you just are manic by nature. You just want to. You don't feel alive unless
Maybe
you're like.
maybe I'm
pushing
one
it.
of those people who thrive on manicness.
Yeah, I think that's it. Slow it down, Raghu. Just slow down.
Can you micromanage my life more, Mr. Kaustubha?
Just trying to help you.
Okay. Here's a little nug, sir. Listen to this nug. It's
Yeah.
from Marcus Aurelius, famous
Oh yeah, Roman emperor,
stoicist.
Stoic philosopher, Roman emperor.
Yeah. Except the things which fate binds you.
Hold it. Start over.
Accept the things to which fate binds you.
Okay.
And love the people whom fate brings you together. But do so with all your heart. So you accept your fate,
Accept your fate. That
Right.
that whatever you've been bound
Yeah,
to by fate.
the meaning the cruel things that are happening. Like, this is what I got. Okay.
Yeah.
And love the people whom fate brings you together with.
Okay. It's you feel it's fated to happen. Let me accept it.
Yeah, and these people are in my life. How can I love
Might as
them?
well love them.
How can I love them? And that's going to be different for each person.
Okay.
Some people need different types of love. Some, right?
Yeah.
Right. But do them both. Both the
Love the one you're with. Yeah.
you always want to bring in some 70s song. But do it with all your heart. I mean, step into that love.
To me, Raghu, when I hear that quote,
Yeah.
you see, I think we all, like say all our Wisdom of Sages family here, right?
Excuse me.
If you're listening to the show regularly, you're a person that's interested in improving your life and being more deeply spiritual. And so I think like the first two things, there's wisdom in them, and we accept them, right? Okay, I appreciate that. Accept the things to which fate binds you. Yeah.
Which is really accept the things I cannot change.
Yeah, exactly. Let me learn from it. Let me see it as a positive, an opportunity to grow, whatever. Love the people with whom fate brings you together. Okay, that makes sense too, because that's like another type of fate. And it's also, I should recognize the spiritual essence within everybody. That's important. But then and so I accept it. But then when it says, but do so with all your heart, that's the difference maker, isn't it? Like, in other words, like, I accept that's wise and I accept that's the way I live. And I kind of try to live that way. And we can kind of try to live that way. And that's good. But if we want to, like, the type of determination, right, that the great souls have, they're going to say, I'm not only going to do this, I'm going to do it with all my heart, right? And that's what, like, when I've been close to people that I really respect, that have really, deeply imbibed spiritual wisdom in their life, I see the lengths that they're willing to go, that's just, it goes beyond, it pushes the border, like where most people would stop, like where most people would say, I appreciate that those two statements about fate, and I like that, and I apply it in my life. But then most people stop at a certain point.
Right.
Right, okay. Yeah, well, yeah, sure,
I've accepted it, yeah. But I've accepted it in a quite bitter way.
Yeah, I've accepted it in a bitter way, or I do it half-heartedly, right?
Sure.
Like, I try to see the good in everyone, but I do it half-heartedly, but like I need to love that person even when it crosses that line, and do it with all my heart, not just with part of my heart. That's the challenge, and I think that's the challenge where the growth takes place, So I think Marcus was onto something. I think
Marcus must have worked the 12 steps, because he wouldn't have come up with such a great quote unless he was in the program.
Why does he have to be in the program?
Accept the things which you cannot change. Fate binds you. It's the serenity prayer he's got going.
But this was long before the 12-step program, so
maybe
maybe they got it from him.
It's a joke.
All right. Think he was drinking a little extra wine over there or something? Marcus? No,
I didn't know he was a Roman emperor, though.
He was a Roman emperor, yeah.
Yeah.
He was like one of what they call the
It's easy for him to
kings.
say, accept the things which fate binds you. He's a Roman emperor.
No, you think it's easy being the emperor, Raghunath? It's a lot of responsibility.
What's it like being an emperor? Kaustubha?
Even if becoming an emperor of a small thing, the more responsibility you get, it's like it's a burden.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's a
Being
burden.
emperor of Rome.
Not like
sending
being a
people off to
peasant.
war.
Not like being a peasant. That's easy.
In some senses, it is.
Mara, you want to say anything here?
I'm staying out.
Mara doesn't like to get in between me and Kaustubha's bickering.
I know.
We're arguing. Is it harder to be a peasant or an emperor? You see that? And you're not going to take my side. Okay.
They both have challenges.
They both have challenges. That's my point. It's not easy to be the emperor. It's hard.
Mara can't win this one. She just bows out. All right.
You ready for some
We're getting
Bhagavatam?
ready. We're getting ready for both these events, everybody. In New York and L.A., come visit us. Or L.A. is really Long Beach. Come visit us here. We're going to all hang out. We're going to meet the Zoomers, like me and Nityananda Chandra and Krishna Mangala. We're all meeting each other outside of the Zoom world And now we're meeting each other's face. As soon as we saw each other, we were like, "You're real." We're grabbing each other's faces, touching each other, wrestling around the room. It's been fun. We just have this weird virtual relationship before then. Okay, let's go.
Were you going to say anything about those?
Yes. The first weekend of June at Long Beach, go to Yoga Studio 108 at Gmail. Wait a second.
Yoga Studio
108.com.
No, Yoga 108 Studio.
Yoga108studio.com. You can register there. There's very few spaces left if you're interested. And also the Bhakti Center is doing the following week, the second week. If you're on the East Coast, make a New York City weekend. And we're going to see Lord Jagannath, which is incredible. Because there's a Jagannath festival that weekend. So we're looking forward to seeing everybody.
Don't miss that, right?
Yes. Also, Hot Cindy Yoga on Instagram. Hot Cindy Yoga. I'm doing a retreat with Doyle Garunga in Mexico, and I found that there's 2 spaces left. So if you're interested, go to Instagram at Hot Cindy Yoga, and we're going to Mexico. Me and Doyle are going to Mexico.
What was that?
Cindy Lunsford.
Tulum?
Not Tulum. This nice place. I can't remember what it's called. Outside of Cancun. Cancun's a simple flight from New Yorkers too. It's like a short, direct flight.
Okay.
Yeah. Alrighty.
Let's do it.
Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord, Narayan. Unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being. Unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning. And to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayesha badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama shloki bhaktir bhavati naistiki. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is but troublesome to the heart will become eradicated, and loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Gyana Tamarandasya Gyananjana Shlakaya Chakshurun Midatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My teachers have opened my eyes with a torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances to their lotus feet. Mara, what episode are we on, dear?
439.
Woohoo! 439. And we are on, Mara, what text?
Oh, Canto 3, Chapter 9, Text 36.
Okay, you're all over the hot seat tonight, Mara. We're not siding with the peasants. Okay, I'm going to finish you up here. All right, let's do this. Just start, Kaustubha? Or you want to give some...
Well, maybe we finish the chapter today.
Let's finish the chapter.
Let's see. I mean, yeah. But now these are, again, the prayers. Lord Brahma offers. Lord Vishnu coming back. He's assuring him that your prayers will be fulfilled. You wanted to serve, and you're serving with your mind focused on me, the root of existence, and therefore the vicious mode of passion will not encroach upon you. You will not develop pride. He's like, I got your back, right? And so now he continues.
By the way, I think it's important to say, especially if people are new to the show, that why don't you just read the story, people? Why don't you just read the story? People can get frustrated. Why are we stopping? We're going into purports. The way you're supposed to study these Vedic teachings is not that you're just like reading stories. These stories are meant to be commented on it's meant to be commented on by great masters, previous masters. And what they do is they give hidden meanings that sometimes we might just, cruise right through if we're just reading it for a story's sake. So lots of times we stop and we dive into a purport. Now the purports are given by, in this translation, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who happens to be our guru's guru. And he also doesn't make them up. When he's writing the commentaries, he's, back in the days before internet, you're laying out a bunch of other books in their Sanskrit or in their, I think they were all Sanskrit. Yeah. In all Sanskrit. You have to be expert at translating, and you have to read the previous masters' commentaries, and then you sort of update it for a slightly modern audience. So that's sort of what we're getting when we read the purports. And then by reading the text with the purports, you're getting a much deeper understanding. And this book has been commented on for, thousands of years. Books like the Bhagavad Gita or the Yoga Sutras. There's commentaries going on for thousands of years. You're not supposed to just breeze through the story, or else what you miss sort of the inner teachings. And that's why it's not reading perhaps as fluid as a story. But that's why we have Kaustubha here, because he's quite expert at tying all these things together. Isn't he?
For tying that together.
Good. So text 39. Oh, no.
No. Text 36.
36. Although I'm not easily knowable by the conditioned soul, that's us. You have known me today because you know that my personality is not constituted of anything material, and specifically not of the 5 gross and 3 subtle elements. So that's us. We're pure spirit souls. We are pure beings in this world, coming into contact with matter, falsely identifying the matter to be me, forgetting my real identity, seeing myself as whatever this form is. I'm an Italian American New Yorker. I think that's my form. It's an illusion, right? And then I get conditioned. What do I get conditioned by? Anything that's put in my mind, that's sold to me as what I really am. And we get sold identities with advertising, with media. In high school or in junior high school, we get sold an identity, and then we opt in. Yeah, I'm this person, or I'm that person, or I'm a, I got sold. I was like a punk, and then I was a straight edge, and I was an American or a male.
Sold on it.
We're sold on it. We
basically
purchased, tricked. We've been tricked.
Oh man.
Yeah, and advertisers capitalize on this. You're a rugged guy. You need one of these. Or you're a good-looking guy. You should be wearing this and stuff like that. And we get we're a blank slate. We get programmed. We're also running programs, strangely enough, from a previous life, and we think that's the real me. That's not even the real you either. That was another program running. So we are just layers and layers and layers of programming going on, completely lost to the real identity, which is basically right in front of our face. And that's what we're in the process of unpeeling this mushroom. Not mushroom. Onion. It was one of the forbidden foods.
There's garlic.
Okay.
Yeah. So like in Vishnu's case, like even his body isn't made out of these ingredients.
Yeah.
Right? Like with us, it's like we identify with the body that's made out of the five gross and 3 subtle elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether. The gross elements, mind, intelligence, false ego, are the subtle elements. But when it comes to our body is composed of those, and we tend to identify with the body. So we're being sold a misidentification. But with Vishnu, even his body isn't made out of those ingredients, and Brahma knows him that way. He understands that he's not a being like us.
Hey, do you remember Hinduism in school? Did you learn Hinduism?
Not one
iota?
Drop of.
I learned.
I don't know if the word Hinduism was ever mentioned in school.
Mine was. I learned in like
world religions?
8th grade.
Really?
No, yeah, something like social studies or something like that. And they always like have this thing like there's 3 gods. There's 3 main gods. There's the creator, the destroyer, the maintainer. But Brahma is he's powerful, but he's not God. He's just so powerful.
He's a god.
He's a god, but he's not the god.
Right.
And so, and another very interesting point about Brahma is his body is actually temporary. Yeah. His body's not eternal. He's like us. He's like us. He's like us with a better gig. He's got a better gig than us. He creates the universe, but he still has to die.
Yeah.
He just lives an incredibly long time. So he's not the God, a monotheistic God, but he's a powerful, powerful being. So powerful that he gets, he's considered godlike.
Yeah, he's got powers, and
Yeah.
2 chapters away, we might wrap up this chapter today, but then 2 chapters down the road, there's this chapter called The Calculation of Time from the Atom.
Yeah.
which is basically just like shows different measurements of time.
That's a page turner right there.
It's kind of tedious. It just says, like, here's the tiniest measurement of time, and then you multiply that by this many, you can call it this, and you multiply that by that many, you give it another name, and then you get to like the human lifespan, which is like 100 years. And then you realize like that very tiny amount of time, like minuscule, like micro, less than a second, one atom of time. In our lifetime, how many of those are there? There's just like billions and billions and billions. They're so insignificant, But then what that chapter does, it makes us understand. Then it keeps continuing from like the human lifespan and different measurements of time all the way up to the lifespan of Brahma. And then you realize, oh, just like that microsecond is insignificant to us, our entire lifetime, which we consider to be so significant, it's totally insignificant compared to Brahma's lifetime.
Right?
But we're taking it all, right?
Taking it so seriously, all my
We
problems.
think everybody should be concerned about my
problems. Oh.
And then the chapter goes on to show that Brahma's life is just one breath for Lord Vishnu.
So I don't want to hear any more complaining from anybody out there.
No
Don't
more
you
complaining.
understand how temporary this existence is? It's actually quite like right? Like how long do flies live, Mara?
Mara, work on that one.
I'll get back to you on that.
What do they teach you in private school there?
The common housefly?
Housefly,
The
yeah.
tsetse, which kind of fly?
I think it's like 2 weeks. I think 2 weeks.
15 to 25 days.
15. That's their entire existence. That's not
Really?
like their life is not cut short. That's it. That's a full, complete life from beginning, middle to end. Like in that time, they're having babies. They're going on vacations. They're having career
incredible.
options.
Because if you look at the body of the fly, it's like it's an incredible invention.
It's quite incredible.
And then
actually,
it's
the
just gone
fly.
in no time.
It's like a fighter jet.
Yeah, it's got these eyes and wings and.
Yeah, and look how you could never create a jet that could fly like that fly.
You know what Prabhupada used to say? He would say like about the mosquitoes, like each one is like a helicopter, right? And they're flying around big. What do you call it when there's a lot of mosquitoes in one?
A
Swarm?
swarm.
They're like in a swarm, just like floating around. And he says, but they never bump into each other, right? Like in the airport, they have like all this whole system set up.
Air traffic control.
Air traffic control, because they're so afraid that two might just even bump into each other and it'd be a huge disaster. He says Krishna designs these mosquitoes and they're just like flying all over the place, all around each other, and they never bump into each other. Because why?
Paramatma.
Paramatma's in the heart of each one.
Interesting.
That took you. I didn't mean to divert you too far from the point. You were making a point about the lifetime of the fly.
My point. That is very interesting to know, because we are always planes are always colliding with other planes, but the lifespan of that fly is fully complete. It's not cut short. It's not like it's not a short life. It's a very complete life. It feels like I've lived my entire life now.
Like on the 15th day, it's kind of like, all right.
She's having a midlife crisis on day 15, but on day 25, it's like, it's time to leave, and that's it. And we think it's so insignificant. And then there's these higher species, perhaps even a turtle or a redwood tree, is thinking these humans, they're just here for a moment, right?
Those
And
turtles, yeah.
Turtles live a long time, right? And then there's Brahma, of course. This whole universe is temporary, and Brahma's incredibly long life is. Yeah, we are just absorbed, like the fly too, is absorbed in that life, thinking this is it, my whole life here.
It's all about zooming out.
It's about zooming out. And that's what the Vedas do. They zoom out to help us see our existence as much, because our existence as Raghunath is very short. That's a page in the encyclopedia. But my eternal identity, and that's what we're trying to connect ourselves with and everybody else with. And that's sort of like the goal of life. And that's what love is. And that's what friendship is. And that's what parenting is. How can I connect ourselves with an eternal identity? And immediately something happens. All my worry starts to go away. It minimizes my worry, my fear, my anxiety.
Just like Marcus was saying. Then you
Just
can
like
accept the
Marcus said.
fate, right?
Because he was on a first name basis with Marcus Aurelius, the emperor. It's like for all emperors like us, it's
There's Marcus, Julius, But it's true, right? That's, in other words, that's the whole point. Like, you could read that chapter, and why is this giving this long list of tedious list of time measurements? It's all about zooming out. Why do we zoom out? So we can realize that the things that we consider, we're making mountains out of molehills here.
we're
right?
making mountains out of molehills.
That's,
Exactly.
right.
I
Thank
just
you
say
for
what he
repeating
says,
that
but
cliche.
make it a little bit
Yeah,
more dynamic.
Yeah, there was a little more spice, and so so that's there to help us, like realize that actually, because you're in Texas, I just can't help thinking of my guru, right?
Yeah.
Like, just seeing you there, I was with him in the room that you're in there right now, on many occasions, and there's that story that he told where he was the first. When Srila Prabhupada came to the West and started, ISKCON and brought Bhakti to the West, the first kind of like, institution, first temple was the storefront, just a small storefront on the Lower East Side of New York.
New York, yeah.
And then the second one was another small storefront in the Haight-Ashbury district of San Francisco. And then a few other little ones popped up here and there. There's Montreal and Boston, and they're kind of spreading over the course of 67, 68. These are like they were spreading, and I think it was maybe it was 69. I'm not sure. Maybe it was 70. That they opened a temple in Los Angeles, which was like the first kind of like it used to be a church, right? And it was like the first kind of like major temple, like for real. What that wasn't like a little storefront or something. And then like many people were taking to it and moving into that temple. So I don't know how many people were in, but maybe 100 people or something like that. And my guru, who's relatively new to all this, but Srila Prabhupada recognized, he's really got capabilities in terms of management and so on. So he was kind of made like put in charge of managing that temple. And Srila Prabhupada was there, and one day, he was just struggling with like management, with different people. Everyone's got an opinion. Everybody wants to do something different. It's a struggle. Like I was saying, it's not easy to be the emperor, Raghunath, right?
It's not easy. No.
Okay.
Us peasants have it easy, really. We're
peasants have
just
it
sitting
easier.
back, doing labor.
Whipped.
Oh, getting beaten, doing labor constantly. You don't have to think, though. You just do it.
That's right.
Very simple.
So anyway, he went
You're
into
like the emperors are like, what am I gonna have for lunch today? Okay.
It's
Go
not all that, Raghunath. It's not all that.
But it's
So,
that too.
At least you get that, right?
At least you're getting lunch.
So he goes into Srila Prabhupada's room, and he's kind of complaining about this and saying, Prabhupada, this has to be like that, and these people are making it difficult, and this, that. And then Srila Prabhupada, he pointed to this painting that was on the wall. And what is that painting? Do you know what the painting was?
Mona Lisa?
No. It was
okay.
It was the painting that's the cover of the first canto Srimad Bhagavatam, which shows like the whole cosmology, right? The whole Vedic cosmology,
All the different
including
planets,
the spiritual realm and the spiritual planets, the material world, and then the different universes within the material world, and within each of those universes, there's millions of planets. And so he just walked him through that painting. He said, look, up at the top, there's Krishna himself, the Supreme Lord, the origin of it all, the root of all existence. And what is he doing? He's engaged in pastimes of love with Radha and with all the devotees there, and then, but from him, come, innumerable spiritual planets in the spiritual sky in Vaikuntha. Right? And that sky, it cannot be estimated. It's unlimited. It's spiritual, but within that, there's like a bubble, and that's the material world, right? And Lord Vishnu lies down there, and from the pores of his skin come more universes than we don't have numbers that go that high, right? Coming out of the skin, out of the pores of the skin of Lord Vishnu, and in each one of those is an entire universe. And in that universe, Lord Vishnu lies down again, right? And from him is Brahma, and Brahma creates more planets than we even know about, stars and planets, and it's just so vast we can't estimate, we can't measure it, And then within that universe, amongst all those innumerable planets, there's one planet called Earth, You know, and on that earth, you know, there's so many countries and so many cities, and with each city there's millions of living entities, you know, and amongst all those cities on that earth, there's one called Los Angeles. And in Los Angeles, there's many streets, and on one, I think it's La Cienega Boulevard, I think is what it is. In that's where that temple is. No, this was the first temple.
one. Okay.
Yeah, he said amongst all the streets in that city, there's one street called La Cienega Boulevard. Amongst all the buildings, there's one Hare Krishna temple, and inside there's one Tamal Krishna. That was his name, right? And he's thinking he's very important.
Wah, 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 wah.
Yeah, so you had to zoom out and then realize, hey, you know, why am I'm all caught up, I'm all worked up, my mind's all disturbed, I'm, you know, about what?
And it's it's over in a moment.
Yeah, and it's always
Accept
like
the
a
things
fly.
you cannot change. Accept it. Accept them and love it.
That fate, right?
Accept that fate.
But love him with all your heart.
Yeah, and the people that people put in your life, the people that
Embrace
fate has
them.
put in your life, love them, embrace them, give them a hug, wrestle them lovingly to the ground, steal their shoes.
Gently. Steal their shoes. Where'd that come from?
Added that.
Okay. So, any case, yeah, you know, we're making mountains out of molehills. If we can learn that, that's called wisdom. When you start to operate on that level, right? Then you become that. You get that samadarshan, or that samadvam, right? Samadvam yoga uchite. That's a yogi. They got that kind of mentality where they're not making mountains out of molehills. They got an even mind.
No.
All right.
All right. What number are we on? I got lost in that.
We read 36.
37?
And that was so Brahma. He understood who Vishnu was. He knows that your body isn't like mine, that's temporary, made out of material elements which are always changing. He recognized that Vishnu's body was spiritual. Okay, next text, 37.
When you were contemplating whether there was a source to stem, wait a second. When you were contemplating whether there was a source to the stem of the lotus of your birth, and you even entered into that stem, you could not trace out anything. But at that time, I manifested my form from within.
Okay.
Right? You're trying to find from without, where is God? Where is the source? Where is the origin of everything? You're going out. You've got your microscopes, your electron microscopes, your telescopes. How do I find you can't figure it out. You're within it. What's a good analogy for that?
I usually use the ant or something.
Or the ant. They can't see, can't figure it out. But when Krishna's ready, when God is ready, then they reveal themselves within. Through revelation, we start to understand.
So Prabhupada writes this in the commentary. He says, material senses cannot approach the transcendental understanding. When the Lord was satisfied with his presence and devotion, with Brahma's presence and devotion, he revealed himself from within, with no external endeavor. So in other words, material qualification doesn't qualify us to understand, to see God, right? He says, in other words, when you started searching for me, you know, it wasn't anything external, but I revealed myself to you from within. I manifested to you, right? So this is interesting because in this purport, Prabhupada's making this point that material qualification doesn't qualify us, no matter what we're doing external. No matter how smart we are, no matter how big our telescope is, or how powerful our microscope is, you don't find God that way. God isn't revealed that way. So material qualification doesn't qualify us. Now in the next verse, he makes the other point that lack of material qualification doesn't disqualify us.
Ready?
Text 38.
O Brahma, the prayers that you have chanted, praising the glories of my transcendental activities, the penances you have undertaken to understand me, and the firm faith in me, all of these are to be considered my causeless mercy.
Yeah. And so it was that spiritual focus that is what, it's through that Krishna revealed himself. And then Prabhupada writes here, he says, spiritual perfection is not limited by material qualifications. Right? I'm not smart enough. I don't have enough money. I don't know the right people. It's none of that. Spiritual perfection is not limited by material qualifications, but is developed by dint, How do you like that word, Raghu?
Dint. Love the word dint. I use it all the time.
Okay. It's developed
Dint.
by dint of one's sincere endeavor to render transcendental service.
That's definitely another
Voluntary
Hare Krishna word, dint. You know what I mean?
Dint.
Because I've never used
Yeah.
the word until I started taking my spiritual life more seriously. By a dint.
By dint of. What about stint? Do you use that sometimes?
Stint, yeah, of course. Many times a day. Many times a
Okay.
day.
So again, spiritual perfection is not limited by material qualifications, but is developed by dint of one's sincere endeavor to render transcendental service. Voluntary endeavor is the only qualification for spiritual perfection. Material acquisitions of wealth or education are not considered. Good to know, right?
Good to know.
So
Don't get proud of your education. You know
that's
who.
not going to do it. That's not going to do. Oh, careful there, Raghu. Careful there. Mary's just like, nah, like, don't go into it. So again, material qualifications don't qualify us for spiritual realization, and lack of material qualifications don't disqualify us. All right. Text 39.
Text 39. I'm very much pleased by your description of me in terms of my transcendental qualities, which appear mundane to the mundaners. I think Prabhupada made up that word, a mundaner, but I like it.
Maybe not.
Those who are mundane are mundaners. I'm very much pleased by your description of me in terms of my transcendental qualities, which appear mundane to the mundaners. I grant you all benedictions in your desire to glorify all the planets by your activities. Mundaner. Don't be a mundaner. What a put down. Any human beings who pray, any human being who prays like Brahma and who thus worships me shall very soon be pleased with the fulfillment of all his desires, for I am the Lord of all benedictions.
That's how he wants to be known, right? I'm benedicting.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is the opinion of expert transcendentalists that the ultimate goal of performing all traditional good works, penances, sacrifices, charities, mystic activities, trances, right, is to invoke my satisfaction. That's the goal of it all. That's the win. That's the home run. That's where we're going with all of this stuff in the first place.
But doesn't that sound a little, could that be interpreted as being like, well, hold it, why just you, everything is just for you? Or like,
Wait a second. You sound so self-centered, Vishnu. Well, it's because I'm the center.
because I'm the center.
That's my position.
Right.
If I say that, it's all should be for me, then I'm a narcissist. If Vishnu does it, actually everything is emanating from him. He can legitimately say that and not be a narcissist.
Yeah, it's kind of like the light bulb turning to like the generator and saying, well, I got to be connected to you
Yeah, what makes you think you're so important?
before I light up. And, and the generator's like, no, but as soon as you connect to me, you light up. That's the point. You know, they're like, don't try to connect to anything else.
You think it's all about you,
yes.
generator.
That's a good one, though, right? I like
that one too.
that works. Right?
Generators
The light bulbs turn to
light
the
up.
generator and say, why do I got to connect with you? You know, maybe everyone should be connected with me. Well, if people connect with you, nothing's really going to happen unless you connect with me, and then you got light for them, right?
It sounds bad if it's coming from us, but we are the light bulbs. We're not the generator.
That's right. All right.
Yeah.
Now,
know,
this
I talked
text
to-
40.
I
What?
talked to Raghunath Swami for like an hour yesterday.
Did you feel like you connected to a generator?
I felt like very connected to a generator.
Nice.
Told him about our program and at Modery's studio, and
Oh, yeah.
talked to him about
Did he give
all my.
a blessing?
He gave it blessings. He was throwing out blessings left and right,
Great.
and some curses. He said, "I can never go to Muktinath again." He said, "I can never
Oh,
go to
right,
Muktinath again because 9 people that were very dear to him, he considers them his children, died going there."
Right.
So he
So
said,
he forbid you?
He said he goes, "You're lucky you didn't tell me before you went, because I would have said you're forbidden to go."
Wow.
But he said, "I'm glad you went." He told me some really cool. I won't get into it, but cool
Muktinath
parts.
stories?
Nepal stories, and
yeah,
it's sort of like journey home extensions of the journey home, but like
Right.
secret parts of it.
Postscripts.
Yeah, postscripts. That's what he did. And I told him that. What else did I tell him? I just told him the wedding and adventures, and he was giving. I'm going through some stuff right now, so he's giving me a little extra compassion and love and encouragement. You take shelter in these people.
Okay.
They're sweet people.
Yep.
Okay, I'm 42.
Text 42's got an incredible commentary.
I am
know
the
what?
super
I don't know if
soul.
we got time for it today, but let's see.
I'm the super soul of every individual. I'm the supreme director and the dearest.
The dearest.
People are wrongly attached to the gross and subtle bodies, but they should be attached to me only. Boss. Finished.
I'm the generator, right?
That is when Lord Vishnu drops the mic.
Well, let's look at this and understand this. I think in this commentary, it's going to help us understand why. Like, why do we all have to be connected to you? It's like a bunch of leaves standing around the tree saying, like, why do we need to be connected to you? It's because that's where you get your nourishment. That's where you get your vitality.
The leaves are going on strike.
Yeah, they're just going to dry
We
up.
don't need you
it's
anymore.
not going to work. Rebellion.
You can't do it.
You can't do it. So here's a commentary. The Supreme Lord, the personality of God, is the dearest in both the conditioned and liberated states. When a person does not know that this is interesting, because what's going to come out here is even when you're conditioned, it's God's energy that you find dear, although you might not identify it with God. Okay? So he says, when a person does not know that the Lord is the only dearmost object, then they are in the conditioned state of life. And when one knows perfectly well that the Lord is the only dearmost object, then they are considered liberated. Okay? It's as simple as that. It's understanding what is what. There are degrees of knowing one's relationship with the Lord, depending on the degree of realization as to why the Supreme Lord is the dearmost object of every living being. The real reason is clearly stated in Bhagavad Gita 15:7. So, like, why should I be connected? Why is this particular being the most dear? Text 15:7. Hit it, Raghu.
Text 15:7. Mamavam so jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatanaha.
That's the one.
What's that?
The living. The rest of the verse.
George here. Bhakti George, fill me in. What's next after that?
Manasashthanandriyani
Prakriti Stani Karshati Bhakti George. You failed.
Mary's like, okay, who's this Bhakti George? Bhakti George, can we have him around more often?
Bhakti George, quite interesting guy here.
Yeah.
His grandfather was killed by killer bees.
Uh-oh.
An interesting story.
Yeah, it's a little
I didn't even know
sad.
there were killer bees in America.
There used to be a whole thing with killer bees, I remember.
It was a thing. We talked about them a lot. They're not
Was that in
they're not
Texas?
so much in the conversation anymore.
Was that in Texas?
In Texas, killer bees.
Okay. So Prabhupada quotes...
That's it. That's all. So, his father died.
well, we're running out of time here. We got this great purport, and you've diverted us.
Okay.
So the real reason for what? The real reason why Krishna is that central figure that we're all meant to be connected with and is the dearest, right? The real reason Prabhupada quotes this verse, Mamai Vangsho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. The living entities are eternally parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord. We are connected by nature. The living entity is called the Atma, and the Lord is called the Paramatma. The living entity is called Brahman, and the Lord is called
Parabrahman.
Yeah, or the Parameshvara.
Parameshvara.
Parama Krishna. There he's quoting a little Brahma Samhita, right? So he's saying that what we are is we are a little part, right? We are a ray of the sunlight, and Krishna is the sun. We are Atma. He's Paramatma, the supreme Atma, right? So he's trying to help us understand that we are the energy of God, but in a very small little drop, right? So he goes on, the conditioned souls who do not have self-realization accept the material body as the dearmost. Right? Satisfying this body is my aim because this body is dearmost, right? The idea of the dearmost is then spread all over the body, both concentrated and extended. So in other words, satisfying my body is my dearmost objective of life, and also those bodies that are connected to me, like my family, for instance. You know, it might expand a little bit to my neighborhood, might expand to my country. But that's where our affection is going. our body and what's connected to our body. As soon as the real living entity is out of the body, even the body of the most dear son is no longer attractive. So why are we attached to the body when it's actually not even the body that's attractive? It's the spark of, it's God's energy within that body, right? It's the jiva that makes it attractive. Therefore, the living spark, or the eternal part of the supreme, is the real basis for affection, right? It's the soul, which is part of the supreme, which is truly attractive, which is truly dear. We should understand that, right? Because the living entities are also parts of the whole living entity, that supreme living entity is the factual basis for affection for all. One who, this is explaining it all, right? In other words, so when Krishna says, I'm the most dear object, and everything that you should do should be for me, it's because because he is the source of everything, and what I love in Raghu, right, is Krishna's energy, right? Mm-hmm. So when I see it that way, even when I'm when Raghu is dear to me, the connection to God is there too, and so God is dear to me. It's never lost in the equation, right? Is prominent in the equation. One who has forgotten the basic principle of his love for everything, when I haven't understood that it's because this is God's energy that I love my son, it's because this is God's energy that I love my wife, it's, one who has forgotten the basic principle of his love for everything has only flickering love because he is in Maya, right? In other words, I love my wife, but as soon as she starts to grow old, then it's gone, it's flickering, separated by time. The more one is affected by the principle of Maya, the more they are detached from the basic principle of love. One cannot factually love anything unless they are fully developed in the loving service of the Lord. Boom, right there. Let's read that again. You ready, Raghu?
Yeah.
One cannot factually love anything unless they are fully developed in the loving service of the Lord. Boom, right there. Let's conclude it on, shall we?
It's like Groundhog Day. Do it again.
Should I? Want me to do it again? One cannot factually love anything unless they have fully developed their loving service of the Lord.
That's it. You're teaching us how to love, Kaustubha.
Not me. This is Prabhupada. I'm just reading it.
Thanks,
go
everybody.
Get some love from Kalachunji.
Hey, let's say a little Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. That was a prayer dedicated to our friend Gopal Chandra. He's going through his stuff right now. We love him and Gaurangi Priya. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Thanks to Nityananda Chandra and Krishna Mangala for hosting the Road Trip 2021.
Where will it take you next?
Where will it take us? Who knows? Maybe I should just chill out in Dallas. Where am I going?
Why not just chill there for a day?
Why don't I chill?
Need to rush.
Chill out.
Man. Do a little program. Do a little Sweet Baby Krishna tonight.
The Sweet Baby Krishna, perhaps.
Kalachunji Dham.
Yeah. Where is the rush?
Nityananda Chandra's like, Nityananda
Chandra's like, I think you might have to go. We have plans. We have other guests coming. Thanks, everybody, for joining us, and we hope to see you soon at one of the events. And coming soon, what else do we have? Mara, I can't think right now.
Get back to your recovery group meeting this afternoon at 3 o'clock. Tomorrow's our Q&A day.
Tomorrow's Q&A day.
Mm-hmm.
Kripamoya Prabhu is going to be our guest this weekend from England.
Is that confirmed?
It's pretty confirmed.
Okay.
Because we're flying by the seat of our pants. No, it's going to be someone very special if it's not him. Wait till you see. Just you wait. In the meantime, let's do what we do best. Sing and dance. Look at these guys. Woo! We got a whole crew here.
Ah, yeah.